everyone, and welcome back to our Halloween craft video. Today we're blending the best of fall and Halloween with some cheerful and festive projects that are sure to brighten up your season. Hi, my name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting. Let's combine the cozy vibes of fall with the fun of Halloween. While browsing through the Dollar Tree, I found this adorable two-sided sign, and I thought this would be a fun piece to make over for fall and Halloween. So I'm going to start out by just removing the base so it'll be a little bit easier to make over this sign. Now let's go ahead and remove that Hello Fall piece. Well, it is pretty, it just wasn't my style for this piece. So we're going to save that for another craft, and we'll start with just a blank slate. Now let's grab our Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster and give a nice coat of paint over the front of this little pumpkin. And once that paint is dry, I'm going to grab my Mod Podge in matte, and we're doing a nice coat of Mod Podge over the top of this paint. Recently, I started using these Mod Podge paintbrushes, and I am really enjoying them. I feel like they do a wonderful job with the Mod Podge, and I'll leave a link for them in my description box below if you're interested in them. Now, I found this adorable napkin at Home Goods, and I absolutely love it. I tend to find these fun napkins there that have this foil inlay in them, and so when I flip this napkin back over, you'll see that in one of the squares, there's some gold inlay inside the napkin. I just think this is so beautiful. So if you haven't decoupaged with napkins before, what you see me doing here is removing the back two layers of the napkin. And I use a piece of painter's tape to try to help pull those pieces apart. And once I get that napkin, that top layer off, I'm going to center that over the top of my piece. And I really want to put as much of that gold into my piece. And you'll notice that not the whole entire napkin has that gold. It's just one of the quadrants. So I'm trying to kind of center that the best that I can to maximize the gold. So we're going to be doing the iron-on method for decoupaging here. So we put the napkin over dried Mod Podge, and then I laid a piece of parchment paper over the top. Now I grabbed an iron, and I'm just going to iron that napkin right onto the Mod Podge, and this will allow that Mod Podge to warm back up, and then it melts that napkin right onto our piece. Now before I try to remove any excess napkin, I am going to seal this with a coat of Mod Podge over the top of the napkin. And once that Mod Podge is completely dry, I'm taking an emery board, or sandpaper would work just fine as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and just sand in a downward motion the remainder of the napkin off of our pumpkin. Now let's go ahead and set that aside for a moment. Now I found this Hello Fall wood cutout in my stash, and this I had painted for another project and then decided not to use it. So I'm just gonna tape this back down to a paintable surface. And I want to bring out some gold on here. So I'm taking some of my gold paint here, and this is from Delta Creative, and I'm just going to brush that over the top of the Hello Fall. Now let's put these two pieces together. I'm just going to flip over my wood piece, and using some hot glue, I'm going to hot glue this piece right onto my little pumpkin. And I just love how this fall side of our pumpkin turned out. Let's flip this over and make it a reversible sign for Halloween. And as you probably guessed, I am grabbing that Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster, which is one of my favorite. And I am going to go ahead and just paint over the black on this side of our piece. Next, I grab my Waverly chalk paint in the color Elephant, and I'm going to go ahead and paint a stripe in the center of our pumpkin. Now, I did freehand this, but it probably would have been a little bit better to use some painter's tape. But at that point, I had already started, so I just kept going. And to try to make this as straight as possible, I did use my straight edge and a pencil, and I'm just going to draw some lines and then just paint right up into that line. Now, while that is drying, I did grab out some of these wood letters that I got from Walmart and this cute little metal pumpkin that I took apart from a Dollar Tree garland. Now, once I have those letters taped down to a paintable surface, I'm using my Waverly chalk paint in the color white to paint the O. Now, grabbing some black paint, and this is a multi-surface satin paint from Folk Art, I'm going to paint the B, and then I'm actually going to paint some little eyes on my O to make it look like a ghost. And to get the circular shape for the eyes and the mouth, I am using the back side of my paintbrush. Now, going back to our pumpkin, I am taking my Mod Podge in matte, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint a coat of Mod Podge over the top of our white paint. Now, this absolutely adorable napkin I found at HomeGoods, and I just had to get it. I love these little dogs on here, and they're all dressed up for Halloween. And one of the things I really liked about this napkin was that there were multiple surfaces with little puppy dogs. And then there was one surface that had 3 larger puppy dogs with the happy Halloween on it. So I am going to go ahead and take my painter's tape and remove the back 2 layers of the napkin. And for this project, we're going to be using the little puppy dogs. So I'm going to cut the napkin in half. Now, going back to our pumpkin here, I am going to line up this napkin to make sure that I can get as many little puppy dogs on the bottom layer of this white piece. And then what we'll do is once we have the napkin positioned the way that we would like it, I add a piece of parchment paper over the top. And then using a hot iron, I'm going to iron this right into place. Next, I'm going to grab some scissors and I'm going to just trim the extra napkin on the bottom off. And then using that extra piece that I just trimmed, I'm going to line that up with the top of our pumpkin and do the exact same thing. Now let's grab that Mod Podge again, and I'm doing a quick coat of Mod Podge over the top of these napkins. And I'm just doing a really light coat of that Mod Podge. And then we'll just let that dry for a few minutes. Once this is completely dried, I did take my emery board, or you could use a sander, and I'm just going to sand off any of the excess napkin from our piece. Now let's go ahead and add the boo to our spooky side of our sign. So right now, I'm just going to position the letters and the little pumpkin just to make sure they're spaced the way that I would like them. And then to attach these letters, I am going to be using a little bit of hot glue. And be careful with the hot glue and that little metal pumpkin. It does get a little bit warm because the metal does warm up with that hot glue. And now that our spooky boo sign is complete, I am going to take my hot glue and I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue back to the holes inside of the stand that we had earlier and just reattach our little pumpkin. Now here is our sign put all together. I just love how this turns out. The hello fall and then flipping it over and seeing the adorable boo. Let me know which side is your favorite, Hello Fall or Boo. Please vote in the comments below. This next craft is super fun and easy and can be done by kids or adults alike. Grab some solar lights from the Dollar Tree, and I got these adorable ghost ones. Next, I grabbed one of my favorite napkins, and yes, the Highland cow is adorable, but it is way too big for these little solar lights. I wanted all of those adorable sunflowers that were on this napkin. So first, I'm going to prep my napkin by just removing the back 2 layers from our napkin. Next, I grabbed a little bit of water and a paintbrush. Now, taking my time, I'm going to paint with the water around one of the sunflowers. And then what I will do is I will tear where the water is around the sunflower until that little sunflower pops right out of my napkin. And then I'm going to continue doing this until I have about 20 or so flowers. Now for our next step, we're going to grab our glossy Mod Podge, and I'm just going to use this to paint on these adorable flowers. So the technique that I'm using is I'm just adding a tiny bit of Mod Podge, adding my little flower, and then going back over it with a little layer of Mod Podge. I'm not using a lot, just enough to get that to stick onto our ghost. So I want to tell you all about this Halloween challenge that I'm a part of. This fun playlist has amazing creators doing all sorts of fall and Halloween decor. And there's a fun hashtag that you can use on either Instagram or on YouTube to find these videos. There's also a link to the playlist down below in my description box. Please check out these wonderful creators. And a big thank you to House on Noble and Buffy Designs for putting this fun playlist together and coming up with this hashtag. Thank you so much for watching, and back to the video. Now let's go ahead and set this little ghost aside to dry, and I'm going to grab a different napkin. This napkin I did find at HomeGoods, so if you're looking for something like this, that is where I found this. And using that water method, again, we are going to take our little paintbrush and just paint around some of these flower bunches and do the same thing. We're just going to tear really lightly and make little flower bunches that we can now attach to our happy little ghost. And we're going to use our glossy Mod Podge here and just paint a tiny bit of Mod Podge on, add our little napkin, and with a light coat of Mod Podge, go over the top of that napkin. And like I said earlier, this is a really easy craft, so you can do this with your kids, or this might be a great fun group project. And depending on where you want to display your ghost, you may want to put a little bit of a clear enamel over the top. Now here are our happy two ghosts. I just love how these turns out. Which one do you like better? Do you like the sunflowers or the wildflowers? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this content, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you. For this craft, we're starting out with a Halloween napkin. And this napkin I did get at HomeGoods, and a towel from the Dollar Tree. Now, taking my napkin, I am going to go ahead and remove the back two layers on the back side of this napkin. And I use painter's tape to help remove those layers. Now, once those two layers are removed, I do take my scissors and I'm going to cut out one of the quadrants in this napkin. Next, I'm going to lay out my towel here. And I'm going to decide where I want to place my napkin on this towel. Now, once I have determined where I would like to place my napkin, I am going to take my Mod Podge, and this is the fabric Mod Podge. So if you haven't used this before, it is a little bit different formula. It's meant to be used on fabric. And I have had really good luck using this with fabric and napkins, so that's why I wanted to show this to you guys. So I'm just going to make a square using my Mod Podge. This doesn't have to be perfect, just big enough to be able to put our napkin on. One thing that's different with the fabric Mod Podge, it is a little bit thicker, and I do a thicker coat onto the piece of fabric. Before I set this napkin down, I do a fit check, and I don't push this down yet. I just look to make sure I have enough of that Mod Podge down. And once I am satisfied with my Mod Podge square, I am going to lay down that napkin. Next, I grab my cling wrap. Yes, cling wrap from the kitchen, and I just lay that down over the top of our napkin, and we're just going to press that down. And I'm using my roller just to roll everything flat, but you can just do this with your hand if you don't have a roller and just tap everything into place. And once you're satisfied with your napkin placement, I go ahead and remove that cling wrap. You don't want that on there very long. And then you're gonna let this dry. And once this is dry, I am going to take that same fabric Mod Podge and go over the top to seal everything in. And that's all there is to it. This Wicked Witch little towel is all ready to display for your holiday festivities. But wait, it is Halloween after all, so let's flip this towel over and we're going to apply a Cricut decal to the other side for fall. So I don't do a lot of Cricut crafts on my channel, but I do use it on occasion for certain phrases and things like that. I don't have the greatest handwriting, so I do like to use my Cricut for that. This is one of the designs that you can find on their design space. So I was able to just download this onto my app and then position it the way I would like. And I'm using the vinyl that is considered iron-on vinyl. Now, once you have that weeded and laid out onto your towel, all you do is you put a piece of parchment paper and you can take your hot iron, a heat press, whatever you have, and you're going to warm up that vinyl. Now, it does take quite a while to warm up the vinyl. You can see here that I'm having a little bit of trouble at the end of the decal putting this on, but this is the first time I've actually done the iron on, so I think I did pretty good. So I just had to go back in with my iron and just make sure that everything stayed into place. Now, once I'm done ironing this on, this towel is ready to go. This reversible towel has Hello Fall on one side, and on the other side, we have our little witch for the Wicked Witch Company. I love how this towel turns out, and it's so much fun that it can be reversible. Now it's time for you to vote again. Which side do you like better, the Hello Fall or the Wicked Witch? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching this year's Halloween video. If you haven't checked out the hashtag yet, I'm going to leave it down below here so that you can check that out either on Instagram or on YouTube. And if you're looking for more fun and creative craft ideas, be sure to check out my next video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, craft more, stress less.